Imagine having a reverse Yelp where we rate customers on their attitudes, their manners, and how well they tip. What review would you leave? You were the most unreasonable person I have ever met. Every single person, from the ushers, who are volunteers, to the other patron who offered their seat to you, wanted to help. I wanted to help you. I know when you are unable to transfer out of your wheelchair, it is a frustrating situation. It must be absolutely maddening when the house manager cannot remove the seat in the center of the theater, which was bolted to not only the cement floor, but to the rest of the seats in the row, so he can put that wheelchair there. I'm sorry that our ADA seating was at the front and rear of the theater and not where you purchased your ticket. I'm sorry that when you called our box office, you did not mention your inability to transfer out of your wheelchair. But you did not need to yell in front of everyone waiting to watch Miss Saigon. You did not have to hurt me. You are the first and the last person I ever issued a refund to just to get you to stop screaming. When you needed to get back to the lobby and were unable to push your wheelchair back up the ramp, I again tried to help you. First, I offered to push you up myself, but you insisted I should not touch the wheelchair. Please note, no one had ever called me foul words before. Kudos to your creativity. I then offered to find your now absent husband/boyfriend. It wouldn't have been hard to find him, for he was at the bar ordering his third drink. The lobby had only been open for 20 minutes at that point. But again, you vehemently declined assistance. But I must say, it was rather astounding when you stood up and proceeded to walk the wheelchair back to the box office of your own volition. I say astounding because when your husband/boyfriend asked why you were leaving, and you said because you didn't want to sit in our messed up seats, I then assumed you had a condition whereupon sitting for long periods of time caused great discomfort. I then asked if there was a way to further accommodate you so that you may see the show. Then your husband called you an old bat who was just trying to get free tickets. She's not disabled. It's all an act. I bid you both a good night. 1 star. I would have given you 0 stars, but I reserve that for the person who tried to terminate me because a queue line wasn't moving fast enough for their liking. The guy was very intoxicated. I cut the line off. It was a spot where it split into 2 theaters at an amusement park. He said something along the lines of, "Let us through." I told him that I needed one of the theater lines to move before I could do so. He exaggerated how long he was waiting, and he said he'd end me if I didn't listen to him. I told him I'm calling for park security, and he went to try and terminate me. My supervisor and another employee happened to be walking by when that happened, and his group of friends helped hold him back. Security came and the whole group was escorted away. I had to fill out an incident report. It wasn't nearly as fun or exciting, but he would get the 0-star review. Yikes. Sounds like someone needs to be reported for disability fraud. Story 2. This rich, entitled witch spent the entire time making me run off for her 12 top and was never satisfied, let alone appreciative. I kept serving them with a smile, which wasn't always easy. When it came to drop the bill, I left it on the table and informed them that the tip was already included since they were a party of more than 8 people, so there was no need to add any extra unless they wanted to. She literally stood up. She stood up and started freaking out in an entire dining room full of people about how she shouldn't have to pay because she had to ask me for the entire meal. It was a buffet. What else could you possibly need? Plus, I got you everything your precious little heart desired. She witched her way to the general manager, who was always an absolute pushover, and let her go without tipping a single penny. This woman is horrible to serve. Do not ever accept her table. You'll 100% regret it. I've seen her come in since, and even if she sits in my section, I always give her table away to somebody else. No way am I ever even trying to look at you again, lady. Get some decency. Yeah, that manager is definitely part of the reason people believe they can act like this with no consequences. The customer is always right, blah, blah, blah. Story 3. A middle-aged lady insulted the staff, yelling, "Valentine's Day is meant to be about me," when she was served a fish 0.0000001 millimeters smaller than her husband's in length, refused to pay for said fish after eating the whole thing, asked for a finger bowl to clean her fingers, threw a tantrum when she saw there was no lemon with the bowl. I went and personally cut her up some lemon for the finger bowl. When I gave it to her, she told me my attitude was disgusting because I smiled too much, made me sweep away a puddle for her so she didn't get her shoes wet. She could have easily walked around the puddle, but no, she insisted. "It's Valentine's Day. I don't have to walk around the puddle. Today is about me." 0 out of 10, didn't leave a tip, and I hope she never breeds. Story 4. Uber already has that. A few years ago, I predicted that eventually we're going to get there. Already, the industry is taking steps in that direction. There are companies that collect returns scanning for misuse and then share those reports with other companies. So if someone returns too much stuff at Best Buy, then Target will know too. The way I think it's going to work is that there will be buyers clubs or rewards clubs, independent from any retailers, but owned by nonprofit cooperatives of the major retailer, with a nominal membership of, let's say, $9.99 a month. The members will have access to special discounts, maybe at a separate website, or quite possibly at the official retailer's website, Amazon, Apple, etc. There are five-star consumers, low returns, low complaints to customer service, etc. Story 5. I work in a nonprofit performing arts theater, and despite what people think, canceling shows isn't as easy as saying it's canceled, even if you're producing it. The board has to approve it, including the playwright and director. The unions involved have to be made aware of the situation and agree to the plan. And then you have to pay the salaries of everyone involved in full, even though there's no show. It's a long process with a lot of moving parts. And these ungrateful rich folks sitting on their lily white backs keep calling and emailing our call center where I work to passive aggressively tell us off for not canceling shows fast enough and demanding refunds on tickets/donations, and then claiming they'll never come again because we don't care about them and their well-being. Some of them are even straight up prejudiced and threatening the theater. Rating is -10. These low classes make early 2000s Paris Hilton and the Kardashians look sane. Story 6. I can't think of a review, so feel free to help me out. One of my last shifts, I work at a breakfast spot. I suggested avocado eggs Benny, add bacon. The girl said, we are going to do avocado toast, add bacon, so I put it in. Boom, 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 it came out and they said, oh no, we ordered avocado Benny, add bacon, like you suggested. And I'm like, no, avo toast plus bacon. But anyway, fast forward through the whole acting like I care. They don't know how to order. One keeps it, one gets my suggestions, pay, yada, yada. So our tables are very close together. Like when you exit a table, your back is going to hit the table next to you. My other guests, mom and daughter, were sitting right next to them the whole time. Wrote a note where they themselves cashed out and said, she's definitely said avocado toast. Which also means the girls were sitting there talking awful stuff enough for my other guests to even take their time to do so. And leads to an amazing smile on my face to this day. Story 7. Bike shop here. Relax guy, might be the one of the 100 customers who can differ between a task that looks like can be resolved quickly and one that actually can be done between two tasks. He didn't even bother with being angry having to wait, but instead decided to enjoy some time sitting in the sun until it's his turn. Just fix it whenever you can and give me a call when it's done. Came back an hour later, surprised that we made it work the same day. I must admit, I enjoyed the unplanned walk in the sun. He gave the usual tip, meaning 90% of customers don't want to deal with small change, so rounded up to the next fiver or tenner. Plus, he saw I was eyeing the parts he wanted to be replaced, nice Shimano pedals, and told me he wouldn't expect them back. They look magnificent on my bike as well. 10 out of 10 would always do business with him again. We'll get a nice discount if I ever meet him again. Story 8. No cashier is fast enough for this man. He tried to hurry me up as I was counting his change as fast as I could. I almost threw his 20 back at him. If you want to be shortchanged, then please continue. 1 star. The whole store does not need to hear about how you nearly broke your teeth on a peach pit particle we didn't know was in your drink. I already notified my manager and he's remaking your drink for you, sans peach pit, as we speak. You complaining loudly but saying you're not complaining next to the register for 5 minutes is not going to remove it. He also interrupted me while I was helping another customer. We had 30 other people to take orders from. I, as a cashier, don't have the time or patience for this. 0 stars. This curious lady needs to work on timing her questions right. She asked me if I was Japanese as I was handling utensils and food. I don't mind being asked about my ethnicity, but please don't ask me when I'm cutting food unless you want debris in your acai bowl. 2 stars. Everyone should learn from this gentleman. He caught my attention while I was working the oven and waited patiently while I put everything down and closed the oven. I thought he had a concern about his order, but he just wanted to know my ethnicity and asked very politely. It was a trivial thing, and I know some people would prefer not to be asked that in public, but I'm very glad that he did in this instance and demonstrated how to safely ask that question. Kudos to you for making sure I didn't burn myself in surprise. 5 stars. Story 9. Mother with 3 children came and ordered food for herself and 3 hot dog kids meals. Put it in, one of them complained he wanted something with chicken, so she asked what we had with chicken. I told her we had a chicken strip kids meal. She seemed fine with that, but the kid screamed angrily that he wasn't a kid and, quote, wanted what he deserved. and ended up with a fit-for-a-king meal made him. When the food was ready, this not a kid came up and took the tray, then promptly threw said tray across the room, spraying soda everywhere. The mother charged up the counter in full steam and looked directly at me with fury blazing in her eyes and then asked politely for napkins. So I gave her said napkins. She then proceeded to whip her glare into her sons and gave him the napkins and demanded him to clean up his own mess. As he was cleaning, she reordered everything, but when it came to his meal, just some fries, he started up another tantrum at that, but she turned to him with the fierce, "That's more than you deserve after that. Have another fit and all you get is water for a mop." The kid didn't say a word after that, just munched on his fries. Mother left apologizing, and the next day we got a huge $50 tip and a letter from the same person, apologizing in writing, and then a call to the manager asking for me to get a raise. Story 10. She walked in with attitude, and in tow was the Thing 1 and Thing 2. To the customer service desk where she strolled while her heathens trolled. Waiting in line was non-existent, or so we were told. We gave her a polite nod for the back of the line, to which she stammered, "Oh, I don't have time." Livid rage is what ensued. A polite "next" is what was issued. She stomped to and fro, looking for anything to throw. When her turn came, down the item went. Behold, a sad-looking Xbox 360 with a dirty vent. "I'd like to return this," the witch stammered. "I have my receipt." Thing 1 and Thing 2 clambered about, arguing and bickering, causing quite a ruckus, searching for her receipt in her purse, almost as if this was rehearsed. Out came a paper, crumpled and torn and worn very thin. "Here it is," the beast yelled, as she tossed the ball like she was done with the feast. Uncrumpled, the paper became. Receipt it was not. "Smells like this is a game." "I'm sorry, I can't return this for you, ma'am," spoke the employee. Her jaw fell to the floor as she screamed for a referee, yelling, witching, and demands, "What more?" This witch's return was no more. Spoke to the manager to sell her plea. Denied. It was tough for this flea. Screaming and touting her demands would be met. Escorted she was, and put she went. Back in she came through the other door, suggesting we kiss our families goodbye and nothing more. Grabbed her item she brought in and steamed out the door she did, as my fellow employee fell to the floor sobbing, as her mother was already doing quite poor, negative 9,000. Story 11. This individual sat at the bar to play Keno and have a drink. He belonged to a lottery group, and at times he was asked to purchase $200 in Mega Millions tickets for his group. They like to spread where they bought the tickets, and today was our day. The bartender asked him to fill out a bet slip for a lottery order that large because he was using odd lingo in the process that would give him a single set of numbers for 100 consecutive draws or 50 weeks. He refused to fill out a bet slip, so she repeated multiple times what his washer was about to be and asked, "Are you sure?" To which he kept saying, "Yes, just print it." As soon as he saw the ticket, he called her a dumb bee and refused to pay for the ticket. In case you're wondering, there is no way to return a Mega Millions ticket, so the retailer is on the hook for it, and the state will automatically draft the money from the retailer's account every week, so it better be in there. And that's how I ended up with a $200 lottery ticket that I had to protect for 50 weeks that never paid back a single dollar. Story 12. This customer tried to get more than the limit, pretended it was for her sister, got called out, and had to leave the extra things behind because of store rules. She bought what corresponded to her. Minutes later, she shows up to the cashier next to me, buying more of said product again, is recognized, and I'm called over to verify. Manager is involved too. She complains after I confirm she had purchased said items already. Manager tells her she can't buy more and cheat the system. She starts complaining on how supposedly I let another lady buy the same stuff twice and why not her. I tell her I didn't because, well, I didn't, and if we happen to miss, it still does not mean anyone else should cheat the system. She starts yelling on how that said lady is probably my friend and that I let her on purpose. I asked what she looked like in case I did miss. She keeps yelling. I didn't run into any friends as I cashiered, so she's obviously lying. Manager knows me, backs me up. Lady keeps complaining. She still gets no extra purchase and gets kicked out by manager. She comes back later again with other customers who apparently did the same thing along with her, Prob's family members. They returned to the aisle where said product on sale was. We had to get some employees to guard the aisle while the manager had to guard the door. Rate? -5 stars. Story 13. Years ago, this would have been my review. Rich guy in his 20s, intoxicated, broke the glass on the front door. Declared his love to me when I served him some fries. Got down on one knee, proposed, and then proceeded to retch on the floor. The manager tried to calm down the situation by sending me to the back. Customers started screaming, "Do you know who my father is? I can buy everything here," etc. More commotion ensued. Manager tried to calm down the situation at hand, but the chef had had enough and came out with a big utensil to scare him off. Rich guy friends threatened police, and seeing this was heading towards a disaster, I quickly packed his food to go and wished him a good night. By some miracle, they decided to leave. The next day, someone had left an envelope with 700 pounds marked to the hot server. Note inside said, "Call me if you want to be my wife," mobile number and name. Manager kept money for repairs even though he was reimbursed for the cost of damages. 0 out of 5 stars, would not do this job ever again. Story 14. There was this one customer who always came into my grocery store whenever I was working, and every time, instead of coming to pick things up in bulk, it was as if he was buying for that day or a particular meal that day. Every day, he'd always come and buy some preposterous fruit that I didn't immediately know the code for, like dragon fruit or coyote, and for some reason, the store never put on our cheat sheets, and he'd always bring me ones that didn't have stickers for me to analyze so I could find the code. Bear in mind, for some reason, my store alternated between 3 different codes for some fruits like peppers, etc. This guy just keeps bringing me fruit that I don't know the code for. This was also in a bit of a quieter neighborhood, so we rarely had more than 2 cashiers at a time, one on express and one on bulk lane. No matter what, this guy would always come straight to my lane. Even if the express was open, even if I had a queue and another cashier didn't, he would always come to my line. And when I had to take a moment to ask my supervisor or see if he managed to bring me one with a sticker or anything at all, I asked him the first 3 times to make sure he brought me fruits with a sticker, but he never did. I'm also convinced he doesn't know English because he never spoke a word to me. He just came in for his fruit, always paid in coinage, then left. And every time when I took a moment to find the code, he'd get angry. Or I'd make a mistake on his order and he'd come back and slap his receipt down and point at it and stare at me like I'm supposed to automatically know what was wrong. Hey, how about instead of coming to me if you know there's going to be a problem, take off to another cashier instead? 0 out of 10 customer, the biggest reason I didn't regret quitting that job. Alright, so next time maybe he'll bring a fruit so rare they'll need a cryptographer instead of a cashier, right? Ha ha ha. Story 15. The woman and her daughter came into the deli and asked for the lowest fat cheese we had. I provided it to them and they complained, "It still has fat in it, where's your fat-free cheese?" When I told them that it wasn't possible to produce and most likely they were thinking of some cheese substitute down in the dairy section, they became furious and asked to see the manager. I called him and he told them the same thing I told them. They left in a huff. Said customers on another occasion asked us to slice meat extra thin without a sheet between slices, and were upset that the pieces stuck. Another time, when seeing that their vanilla cake was so brown you must have the wrong color, the bakery section employee turned the cake over, revealing the vanilla cake was just browner on the outside from being in the pan, like all cakes are. When the mother realized the cake was vanilla, she replied, "Oh, that's not too bad then. How about you uncook it a bit and then we'll be on our way?" After the baker could only reply, "Sorry?" The woman continued, "Unbake it like you baked it. Just put it back in and change it back a little. It shouldn't be this hard." She became indignant when told this is not in fact how baking works. 1 star, split between the 2 of them. They were awful. Story 16. Based on my experience working solo in a busy cafe, they go as follows. 5-star customers read the menu thoroughly, order something that is on it with a second option in mind just in case you are out of it. Keep conversation to a minimum, maybe brightening your day with a clever or funny remark. Understand that you are working hard, do not make a mess, bring back their empty dishes to help, show appreciation by leaving a really good tip, say thanks and leave. 4-star customers pretty much do the same thing but also try to be your friend even though you have never seen each other before, mostly by awkwardly sharing personal information that you are not even remotely interested in, with a smile so you cannot be mad at them, give you a decent tip and leave, mostly unnoticed. 3-star customers come in the form of regulars that are good for business but who overestimate how much you like them and feel entitled to things they do not deserve. They are a little too comfortable around you, they expect discounts, try to improve the menu, showboat in front of other customers, talk awful things about your coworkers and whatnot. They usually leave minimal to decent tips and come back the next day to your inevitable dismay. 2-star customers are a rare breed. They are impatient, condescending, and rude, often ordering by saying "gimme" instead of "I would like" or "can I get?" They also have unattainable expectations. "How come my meal isn't ready yet? It's been 2 minutes." Disproportionately represented by boomers, they do everything wrong and treat you like trash, but somehow leave a hefty tip as if they were almost self-aware. leaving a strange, bitter aftertaste in your mouth and making you reconsider your life choices. One-star customers invented the expression, customer is always right, to justify their aberrant behavior. They live in a fantasy world where anyone that has not attained their position in the great hierarchy of life is seen as a subordinate and therefore unworthy of any form of respect. Filled with contempt, they sometimes put on a fake smile when addressing you. They do not hesitate to talk loudly on their cell phone while ordering, nor do they refrain from telling you how to do your job properly because, well, they know. Always dissatisfied, chances are that you will never see them again, not without them strongly voicing their grievances so everyone can hear. The few ones that stick around will eventually be joined by their sociopathic corporate friends and will be expecting praise for it. I have spread the word and brought you people from the elite, as if I could pay my rent with their prestige. Obviously, that is all you will ever get since none of them will leave a tip. And if you are not cautious enough, some of them will leave with a part of your soul creased in a leftover bag. Zero-star customers are French tourists, lol. Prove me wrong. And if you're enjoying the video and want to prove that last person wrong, please do not forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 17. Party of 6, told them this is my first table after completing my training. Very nice response. One of the guys pointed to a chick next to him and said, it's her birthday. Happy birthday, I said, and as I continued to serve them, I was sure to be extra nice to the birthday girl. Unfortunately, these idiots didn't understand that I would give them the bill, take their payment, and give them a new copy to sign that the tip goes on, and if you really want to leave your number or a note, that's what it goes on. When I went to take the original bill with the dude's payment method, I saw they had written triad and a phone number. No, dude, you and your weirdo birthday girlfriend are creepy. Also, what the hell? I told them they were my first actual table ever and they pulled this. I panicked and wrote, can't, sorry, back and brought their real check to sign. They left a terrible tip, around 5%. 0 out of 5 stars, would not serve those weirdos again. Story 18. Customer yelled that we swindled him out of his money because the pill he bought had gone missing, even though all of us working in the pharmacy knew and saw that our pharmacy assistant did give him the item he bought for. He then proceeded to throw a fit while pointing at his car and yelling, don't you know who I am? I am a supervisor of, insert the name of company here. I made more money than all of you combined. This service is awful and I hope you lose your customers, etc. On top of his lungs while our poor coworker couldn't get a word in. After his rant, he then proceeded to throw his money on our counter and drove off. A few minutes later, he came back and half-heartedly apologized. Turns out the lost item he bought was in his pocket all along. I rate this person 0 out of 10 for his appalling behavior. His showing off of his authority and waving it around like it's some kind of badge that would get him what he wanted, and him disrupting other customers. Would have given him 1 out of 10 if his apologies weren't so half-sincere. Story 19. Came into the sweet shop on the murder side of town, told me I had a golden aura and was going places, which he would know because he works with us young people. Made my bad day infinitely better. Also brought a lot of overpriced sweets and left a small bag of them for me. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Came into the sweet shop on the murder side of town, asked me if I was working alone today, told me I was too pretty to be working alone as it's dangerous, made me think he was going to rob the shop but was only trying to find out if I was single, left the shop without sweets, money, or a girlfriend, 0 out of 10 needs to work on his game. Came into the campsite shop as the first customer of the day, tried to pay for an 80p bottle of milk with a crisp 50-pounder, 3 out of 10 for idiocy, seemed polite though. Left an awful review spending 6 pages of the guest book complaining that it rained during their camping holiday and that their children didn't have enough fun as they broke the pinball machine, free pool table, and threw people that they didn't know into the swimming pool. 0 out of 10 need to understand the concept of camping and family friendly. Story 20. The customer in question rather let herself down by threatening to run me down in her car and terminate me. The reason she felt I deserved that was based on a remark I made. The offending remark, "It's good to see you again, ma'am." The customer mistook what was intended as an attempt to build rapport with someone I had recognized as having been in yesterday and the day before. Her opening response to what she had seen as a war of words was, "You little, it's none of your business where I spend my money, you little pretty boy." My protest that it was genuinely meant politely ended in threat. It was not a comfortable bike ride home. 0 out of 5 wouldn't risk my life to serve this psychopath a cheeseburger again. And I would suggest exchanging as few words as possible with this woman if you spot her in your restaurant. This happened 10 years ago when I was working at the drive-thru at McDonald's. I didn't really used to stick up for myself in those days and said nothing when my manager, instead of contacting the police, laughed and said it was a hilarious story. Story 21. This will probably get buried, but I'll share it nonetheless. In my old job at a call center, we used to save notes like these, so here's one of them as best as I remember. Customer called in regarding a refund that was expected to arrive from a store that he went to 3 days ago. The store told the customer that if the refund took too long, to contact the bank selected for information regarding the refund. After taking a look at the database and transaction history, there were no records of any incoming refunds, let alone any recent movement related to the store in question, despite it being more than 2 business days. I suggested the customer to refer to the store since we have no records of anything related. Customer got furious. He demanded us to release his money because his family is starving and will also get evicted from his house. Kindly, I insisted that I was not capable of refunding him the money that hasn't arrived to us. Customer went on for about 15 minutes yelling at me how we are some lousy and nasty bank with no sense of values and that we're scammers. I had to explain the refund process to the customer, and yet he still demanded his money to arrive today. This was after mentioning that we don't know when the funds will return. The customer demanded to be transferred to a floor manager, saying that all of this was ridiculous and that we're a bunch of idiots. The customer hung up during the transfer. Blacklisted the customer. He will most likely call later. Beware, for he is furious and will not take the refund explanation kindly. Story 22. This lady needed her grocery shopping to be rescanned after using the portable handheld self-scan devices. This is not anything against her, just as a precaution, a few people will be selected at random throughout the day by a computer algorithm to make sure customers are scanning items correctly. This lady thought it would be appropriate to refuse to unpack her bags as they were packed so neatly and she was not prepared to pack them again. After politely explaining that there was nothing I could do and I needed to rescan them, she tipped them out on the wrong end of the checkout, requiring me to move every item to the conveyor so I could keep track of what I had scanned. She repeated not being prepared to pack them again and then stormed off to find someone who can pack them for her. This lady proceeded to complain about me to another member of staff, despite "I'm not prepared to pack these again," and refusing to load the shopping onto the belt, clearly not meaning "can you pack them for me." She then glared at me and my colleague as we scanned and packed the bags and mumbled insults under her breath at me while she paid. Said she will not be returning to this weight, Rose, if that's how she is treated. Funnily enough, no one cared because we were as polite as we could have been about a situation that was not our fault. 0 stars, have fun shopping elsewhere, which... Story 23. Karen came into the bowling alley and requested a discount for being a local and working at the casino. I told her that unfortunately we don't offer discounts to anyone unless they are employed by the owners, are special needs, or a league bowler. She proceeds to tell me she used to bowl 25 years ago in a league. I've told her that she needs to be a current member in one of our leagues. Karen proceeds to tell me all the good she's done for the community and that she deserves a discount. Karen gets increasingly angry after I tell her no multiple times and that it's full price. She asks for the manager. I walk into the back office, walk back out and say, "Hello, Karen, I'm the manager. How can I help you today?" Karen proceeds to sit in a lane and tell me to turn it on. I told her she can sit there all she wants to eat. However, since she is not paying for the lane, if I needed that lane as we start getting busy, she would have to leave the lane. Irate and long bangs, short back haircut intensifying, she yells, "You cannot treat me this way." There were many other creative ways I could have gone about ending this conversation with her. However, I just had security take her away in front of her friends and asked, "So, who's next?" Karen, what out of 5? Karen's friends? 5 out of 5. Great group of ladies, hilarious and humiliated that they were associated with her. Story 24. Rating, 1 star. I worked at a family pizza place through college and worked every Sunday. We had big groups come in after church service, and that's when I learned that going to church doesn't make you a decent person. It just helps hide the monsters they truly are. This particular group came in and destroyed the place by just trashing the tables with food, napkins, and throwing food on the floor. Total schmucks. I give people the benefit of the doubt before they get up and leave, but these folks never did. One of the girls in the group who was about my age came up and said to me, "Wow, we sure do make a big mess. Let me help you." And I said, "Oh, no thanks. It's my job, but I appreciate the offer." And I kid you not, her reply was, "I'm joking. I'm not here to help you. Why do you think we came here so we don't have to clean up after ourselves? And that's why you're hired to work on Sundays." OMG, I was boiling, but I could do nothing but smile and say, well, thanks and have a nice day. After that encounter, I told my boss what had happened, and thankfully, those churchgoers never came back. I'm not sure if a phone call was made or if they were politely asked not to come back. Restaurants bring out the ugliest people, and working at one makes you appreciate the people behind the counter a lot more. Story 25. I've had a fair few bad ones, luckily, also some fantastic customers. The worst one I've had was this Belgian accent schmuck in her 40s or 50s. I'd say lady, but it'd be a lie, who came to our restaurant in the Netherlands. I waited at their table and they wanted to pay after finishing. We had this awfully slow pin machine and possibly worse Wi Fi connection, causing it to take a while. Generally, when this happened, I joked around with customers, awkwardly waiting for the pin machine to do its thing. Most customers understand that there's nothing I can do to speed up the process. Now, this witch, after a good 10 to 15 seconds of waiting, let out an audible from her mouth and rolled her eyes upon seeing me fumble around with a malfunctioning pinning machine. I couldn't believe what was happening and asked, "Excuse me?" She replied with, roughly translated, "Geez, it's not rocket science, is it?" Really, to keep myself from giving her a mouthful after that one, pretty sure I had steam coming out of my ears for the rest of the day. Story 26. I had a customer years ago that none of my staff wanted to serve whenever he came in. He was rude by being cold, distant in conversation, and very specific about his order requests. If something wasn't to his liking, he always complained. I was amazed that they didn't see it from his perspective. He's not coming in to make friends or have a lovely chat. He was there for a product and we were providing it. I started helping him every time he came in, and I always verified his requests as we prepared his meal. I noticed one day he rode a bike, so I made an effort to track down the make and model without asking him. The next time he came in, I asked him about it. He was amazed that I had something beyond the weather to talk about. Months went by and he showed up one day. I started getting ready to help him, and he shakes his head no, asks me to step aside with him for a moment, and hands me a $50 bill. I try to say no, and he shoves it in my hands, telling me his wife had been fighting cancer for the last year. He went on to explain she had beaten it and was on the stretch to full recovery. He gives me a hug and tells me to never stop being the best person I can be. Very, very earth-shaking experience for me. As a customer service reps you are, you never know a person's experience weeks, days, moments before they are in your store. Do your job, do it with a smile, and you will see a change in those you serve. It may not take a minute, a day, a week, or even a year, but customers do notice you. And if you are strong enough, you will be the change they need. Story 27. I worked in the back of the house of a small restaurant, and usually I was there completely alone for the hours between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. One time, in the middle of a lunch rush, a lady ordered a fried chicken sandwich. Easy enough, takes about 10 minutes. She sends it back without even touching it, saying that it is cooked too dark, even though it is the same golden color all the other sandwiches I've ever fried are, and needs to be cooked that length of time to cook the chicken all the way through. Fine, I'll pound out this next sandwich a little thinner so it cooks faster and satisfies her complaint. About another 10 minutes, and she sends it back again, saying now it's too thin. I have a fryer, flat top, stovetop, oven, plating, and cold side to deal with right now for every order to start to finish. I don't have time for this BS. Her waiter, who was the only waiter in the restaurant, comes back, clearly done with this lady's BS too, and says she's just going to change to a grilled chicken sandwich since I can't get this one right. I, through clenched fists, grilled her a lovely grilled sandwich and made her a side of fresh fries for the third time. It gets sent back because the chicken isn't crispy enough. I'm at a loss. What world does this lady live in? Does she know how chicken works in this world? Does she even realize how dry a grilled chicken breast that's crispy would be? Fine, I crisp it up. I put a fine crust on that. It comes back with, "It's too dry and now I've been waiting for over 30 minutes for my food." I lose my mind, absolutely in blind rage mode. At this point, she is the last person inside, everyone else on the outside patio. I walk out straight up to her. I know who it is because I could see her through the kitchen window the whole time, holding the fourth plate I've made for this woman. I put it back down in front of her and I say, "You are the most insufferable person that I've ever had the misfortune of cooking for. This chicken is dry because of the way you wanted it done, which is probably safe to say is about as dry as your personality. This is the last thing I'm going to make for you, so you can eat this." Stunned, she looked at the waiter and demanded a manager fire me immediately. The waiter, who happened to be the head waiter and the acting manager, looked at her and said, "Really? I agree with my chef." She's so upset, she storms out. We never hear from or see this switch again, and the waiter and I keep this little story to ourselves. Story 28. This happened 4 years ago. Still mad at the disrespect. So a woman came saying we gave her son the wrong sandwich when, in fact, he took his own, a friend's, and stole someone else's. We tried to reason with her and made a replacement. My manager said he would be back in a few minutes and went to talk to grab food. He was on a break and I had to calm him back. As soon as my manager left, she pushed back the people in line and asked me where the other sandwich was. I was extremely confused and handed the one we made as a replacement again. She claimed my manager had told her that she would get two. I told her that wasn't protocol and I knew he didn't say that. I was standing right there. I refused to make her another sandwich and told her to get out of the store. She then tried to fight an old man, a regular named Larry, who I absolutely adore, after he stood up for me, basically saying, "Oh my God, she's 16 years old. Leave her alone. What is wrong with you?" People defended me, and this mom with kids started to call the cops. She finally left after my manager came back and told her to leave, to which she responded, "This is why I can't deal with people like you. He's mixed race and works here full time." So the entire restaurant erupted into chaos and people were screaming at her to go get out. She left eventually. I was near tears after being yelled at for over an hour. 2 hours later, she came back with her son's sandwich that he stole and threw it at us. Called the cops and she's banned from the store now. You are a total witch. Minus 10,000 out of 10, 0 stars, no tip, would never ever recommend. Watch out for her outbursts. Story 29. Between regular Yelp and Google reviews and customer accounts, this is already done. I'm a food service manager. Every time there's a review less than 5 stars, I look into it. I look into that person's review and comment history, see if maybe it's a type of food they usually don't eat, if they only leave reviews when something's wrong, if they have a habit of leaving bad reviews to places they still visit often, free food, their manners towards replies, etc. When I was at Domino's, we always started orders with a phone number if our caller ID didn't pick it up already because that's how our customer accounts were set up. Type in the number and their name, pass orders if a gentleman always gets a sausage pineapple and they order a sausage pepperoni. You know to ask, "Did you mean pineapple by chance, sir?" These pages always had comment sections for whoever's taking their order next. As soon as the profile pops on the screen, you'd see things like friendly dogs, small tip, try to take on a double, doesn't talk to anyone, don't be offended. Well done means blackened to this person, but they won't specify that. Credit for free medium, 2 top. We'll try to make up order for free food, check past orders first. And sometimes when I have office time and say a customer coming in to get a free big catering order corrected, I'll speak to them to see who I'm about to be talking to, look into their social media accounts, post history, affiliations, etc. Because it's a tool I already have for hiring and it only takes a second. I wouldn't do a background check, but Spokio crawls the internet for anything with your name on it. That's publicly accessible anyway through public records and the general internet for accounts made with your emails, house/property value, assets, etc. And if you like any of these stories, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video, and thanks for hanging with me on this one.